House to Home, brought to you by RE/MAX Diamond Realty.
All right, everybody, welcome back. This is House to Home. Now, we are going to talk about a topic relative to real estate tonight that we want you to pay attention to because we are going to teach you how to not get swindled, get hosed, get the carpet pulled over your eyes, whatever cliche you want to use. Liz is here from RE/MAX Diamond Realty. Liz, Hafaday, welcome back.
Hafaday, thanks for having me.
So you and I have talked over the past few years about there are some really shady transactions that have happened. We're not saying, Guam's a very, it's a noble place and there are very good business people here, but occasionally somebody will swindle somebody else and say, hey, I have property for you, give me a cash advance, and the person does in good faith. Next thing you know, that person didn't even own the property.
That's correct.
And all of a sudden they change their name and they move to Canada.
That's right.
So how do we avoid doing that? And how can we qualify the reputation of the person that we're buying from?
Well, I recommend that people go with a reputable realtor. Give a realtor a call and just say you're looking for property. I want to caution consumers to be leery if someone walks up on the street and says, hey, I've got this great property, it's a great deal, I'll only sell it to you for $20,000 because I really need the money. Do not give anyone money until you've gotten all the documentation to prove that they own it, and then the documentation also to reflect that you are purchasing the property. Because one of the key elements here is ownership. What if that individual does not own the property? How do you find that out? One of the title companies, their job is to pull preliminary title reports. Those title reports will reflect the chain of ownership. It'll show who owns the property, whether there are any liens on the property such as a loan, because even if you gave the gentleman $10,000, he's selling it to you, but he owes $200,000 on the property. Where does that leave you? You've just gotten swindled out of $10,000. So the title report actually shows who owns the property. Are there any liens on the property, meaning is there a bank loan? Did anyone sue that individual? And do they owe other people money? And are there any encumbrances to the property, such as there's a right-of-way that takes 40 feet, or there's a right-of-way for the government to use for sewer lines or water lines? That title report will also show, are there any back taxes? So it's critical that any buyer see that report or the agent that's representing them so that they could scan through it and see, is it free and clear? And if you're working out a payment arrangement with an owner, you don't want to be left hanging where you've given them monies and they walk away, or you are unable to close on your transaction.
Various little quinky dinks with the properties that will come back to bite you in the rear end.
Yes, it could bite you in the rear. Now, I've heard stories where individuals were given a deal. They were paying individuals monies every month, and then only to find out that they could not close the land transaction because there were liens far beyond even the value of the property. And it was really thick and sticky. It was difficult for this individual, so he lost his monies. I eventually sold him land that he built. He finally built a home. But it was just sad that he lost some monies.
Hopefully there was a happy ending to that story.
Oh, he had a happy ending, but he couldn't recover the monies he lost.
It's interesting and apropos that we're talking about this because I've seen more and more over the past few years, especially there's these signs, and they're hand painted obviously, that pop up in some areas throughout the island, and it says, will buy land for cash. And it gives like a cell phone number or something like that. Obviously you're a licensed realtor, and you told me numerous times on this segment that if I ever ask to see your license, I get a copy of it because that you're a professional like that. How legitimate are those signs?
Those signs are sometimes investors that are looking to buy property from people maybe who are desperate, who need cash, or
it's not always a con.
It's not always a con. There are people out there that are investors, and they put out the sign because they've got the cash to buy the property, but when they're buying property, it just means they're looking for a deal. So, property that's worth $50,000, they'll say, well, here's $20,000 or $30,000. So they're buying it far below the actual market value. Now, people sometimes need medical attention, and they want to liquidate property because they need to take a family member off island. Sometimes they gravitate to that. We get approached every now and then, but it's an uneasy feeling for anyone, I would think, to take advantage of someone that is really in need, in that respect. Yeah. So it's an uncomfortable feeling when that happens. I feel for them, and if there's a way we can make a transaction fair and match a buyer with them so that they don't, I always try to do that, match that need with someone who would pay, but where they don't lose much money in the transaction.
So maybe long story short is your license is your word, and that kind of like that's the balance system. And like you said, with the title companies, same thing for them.
That's right.
For me as a consumer, it gives me peace of mind that I'm working with somebody, and for you, it holds you accountable to your transactions.
That's right. Go with a reputable realtor.
Easy as that. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you so much.